You're going into a matchup with another team that's fighting for a playoff spot. What's the mindset heading into the game?
Yeah, look, I think this is a big match. There's no way around that. I mean, we understand that here. I know Philadelphia understands it from their end. But at the same time, I think it's important to note that regardless of what the outcome of this match is, there's still going to be 4 matches after this weekend that are going to be equally as important. Clearly, we can position ourselves in a great way if we're able to pick up 3 points, and it gives us a different picture than getting 1 point or 0 points. But at the same time, it's not in this mindset of it's a must win. It's not in this mindset of putting all the weight in the world on one match whenever every single match towards the end of the season right now is going to count. And if we were to be successful, that doesn't change that narrative either, by the way. So I think that's important to have that type of mindset going into this match, recognizing the importance, but also not going over the top with putting too much significance on one match with 5 left to play.
And Matt, we'll take some from Zoom now.
We'll go to Stephen Goff.
Troy, thanks for coming in. Wanted to check on availability. Lucas out, obviously, but Mateus is back. And then you got a couple guys trying to get back from injury. So I guess just checking on Hopkins, Matai, and David Schneck's status, and anyone else that might be of a concern.
Yeah, Lucas, like you pointed out, I mean that'll be one that we'll miss this weekend. That said, we've had guys step up in his absence to be able to fill that void at the back throughout this year. I can think back to Nashville and even the start of Minnesota. Our group was able to get a couple good results. He comes on in the Minnesota match in the second half, but that's going to have to be part of the mentality this weekend from that back group that ends up starting the match, is that we can absolutely get it done, even though Lucas is a big loss. With Cookie back in the mix, that'll help us tremendously. I mean, he really has played such a pivotal role in what we've done this year, and he likes the pressure of these types of moments. And then there's pressure in this game this weekend. There's no doubt about that. Jackson's still a little ways away, as is David Schnegg. Matai has made good progress, and hopefully, he'll continue to make that progress. Whether he travels this weekend or not, whether he's a part of the roster this weekend or not, will probably be determined in the next 24 hours.
Anything else on your concern list?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, good. Heading to Philadelphia, obviously this is a team that prior to your arrival has given DC a lot of trouble. It's a well-coached, very talented team. But is there a mental hurdle maybe that some of these guys or this team needs to get over because it's Philadelphia and the success Philadelphia has had against DC for the most part over the last couple of years?
Yeah, you and I spoke about this the first time around. I think maybe post-match you asked a similar question just because we ended up drawing 2-2. And I only knew the history at that point whenever you mentioned it, Steve. And I think for our guys, a lot of the guys, there's a few guys that have been here and maybe experienced these matches in the past, but then there's a number of guys that haven't been attached to that history. From our standpoint, I don't think any of that matters when we kick off on Sunday. Really, I mean, I don't think there's the hurdle to get over is the challenge of what the match entails in relationship to trying to push for this 2024 season. We had a good matchup with them earlier in the season that we probably should have seen out and gotten all 3 points, but that speaks to Philadelphia's quality in terms of the players that they have. They've had the continuity of a real clear identity over many, many years. As you mentioned, I mean, Jim is he's extremely talented in what he's done there. I have a lot of admiration for the job that he's done. He's someone that I would love for my future here to look like what his future has been at Philadelphia, his time at Philadelphia has been. I mean, he's been there 10 seasons now, and that just doesn't happen anymore. And that's because he's been able to have success and have a clear identity and keep a lot of the guys around. They have so much continuity in their group. So they're going to be a tough test, but I think it's more about the focus of this Sunday. How do we position ourselves for the rest of the 2024 season in the way that we want to versus anything that's happened in the past?
Thanks, Troy.
We'll go to Dave Johnson.
Hey, Troy, we talked a lot about, obviously, the young players have contributed so much this year, but now that we get to this point of the year, so fine margins. Can you just talk about what your veteran leadership? I think about, Jared Stroud telling me that, he's at the age now he wants to win a cup. It's getting later in his career. Or Aaron Herrera is just so energized. Or Christian, the veterans. How important is that this time of year?
Look, I just had a conversation. Yeah, I just had a conversation with Christian Benteke on field, and there was a tremendous article in The Athletic today that I was able to read prior to training, and it just gives a great synopsis of everything that Christian's been through in his career, and I just have so much respect for him. But I also expressed to him the gratitude that I have for working with a guy like that. I mean, my background as a coach compared to his background as a player, it's two different situations, But I use him as the example in answering your question right now because he is the focal point of our team. He's in a golden boot race in which he wants to win. And what we talked about on field was in order for him to win it, I think by him producing goals for us, it's going to put us in the position that we want to be, which is in the playoffs and being able to move up the table. And so guys with mentality like he has that have been in hard situations before, he's referenced to me before at many years at Aston Villa, he's in the bottom of the table and they're fighting to stay up in the Premier League. And that's a completely different pressure than any one of us have experienced in our careers before. But that's what you need on the field. Matty Click's another good example of having experienced that type of pressure. And not only do we want to stay in it, but we want to try to push as far as we can. And so that's going back to what Jared mentioned. I love hearing him speak in that way because he is at that point in his career. He's been playing for a number of years, and he doesn't just want to make the playoffs. He wants to go as far as possible in the playoffs. But we have to take that first step in securing our spot. And we have work to do to accomplish that, but we're going to accomplish that with these veterans that have been in these situations before that want to deal with the pressure of the moment.
Along the lines of Benteke, golden boot is a sexy term. I wish I was keeping a stat of how many defensive headers on set pieces can you just talk about his commitment? He really does seem like he will do I know he scores goals, but he'll do anything for you.
Yeah, I've said it time and again. I think that's probably the thing that I appreciate the most out of him is that I can coach him as hard as anyone, and that's because he has the standard for himself. He sets that, and so he does that not just by scoring goals, but in every phase of play. And he really is someone that leads by example. When he speaks, everyone listens, and we're going to need him to continue to produce not only goals, but in the phases of play you're talking about on set pieces and how we press. He's going to be the focal point in all of these areas.
And any big key against Philadelphia, that you can share with us? Obviously, you'd like to dictate terms if you can, but games played on the field, it's not a script, but just something you can share?
We just have to be disciplined in what we do because I think that they have a really tremendous ability to create a goal from kind of chaotic moments. They're really good at hitting you in transition. They're really good at first and second balls and then being able to secure those and generate a quick attack. So we have to be really disciplined in what our match plan is and hopefully go and execute for 90 minutes.
Thank you.
Troy, we have one last question submitted via Zoom. Fighting until the end has been something you've really harped on this season. You have 5 games left now in the MLS. What do you want to see from your team down the stretch in these games?
Yeah, there was a good stat that was brought out this week that I shared with the group actually, and it was we all can recognize that I think we've dropped points this year in winning positions, and I think that we're maybe second or third in the league in terms of dropping points from winning positions. On the one hand, I like that we're in those positions very often this year. I think it's 17 times that we've been in that position this year. But then on the flip side of that, we're also, I think, second or third roughly in being able to be in a position where we're down in a match and come back and generate points. So that speaks a lot to the group's mentality that you're referring to, that we're not, when we go behind, we're not going to shy away from what that challenge is and try to go for the match. And that type of mindset is something that you need to have in order to achieve what you want to, which is us taking that, like I said, that first step into trying to make the playoffs. If we have that type of mentality to continue to fight, which I know we will, and we're going to need it this weekend in Philly, it's a tough place to go, then we're going to give ourselves a chance.